All right, so we're going to finish up the problems that we didn't do before. Feel free to work ahead. I'm going to group. What common factor can I take out of the first pair? So I heard 3, and I heard 3x squared, and I heard 3x2, and I'm agreeing that I can take out 3x squared. All right, so those first 3's cancel. X to the third, remember x to the third is this. X to the 2 is this. And so when you divide them, you are left with x to the 1. So I'm going to put 3x squared on the outside, x to the 1 on the inside, minus 12 divided by 3 is 4. Come on. Feel free to eat in here, that's fine, but let's get your notes done. All right, what can we factor out of the second one? Thank you. All right, so we got us back on track. We're going to factor out the 2 here. Okay, I know we're on the right track because the x minus 4's are matching. So that's one of my factors. And the other one, 3x squared plus 2. 3x squared plus 2. All right, for the problems we did on the board, we just factored, but this says solve, and it's not being specific, so we know that it means to solve for what number? 0. Yeah, solve for 0. So I'm going to set each one equal to 0. All right, first one's pretty straightforward. Bless you. But the second one looks kind of tricky. So I'll subtract the 2 and divide by 3. All right, what do I do when I have x squared equals something? Square root, right. So to get rid of an x squared, you square root because they are inverse operations. When I square root both sides, I have to remember what in front of the square root. That's a trickier one. Plus or minus, good. Plus or minus square root of negative 2/3. Oh goodness, that's all the way down there. All right, so square root and square cancel out. That gives me just x. When I have the square root of a negative, I have to take out a what? I. Very good. So I have plus or minus I. Now, I'm going to leave this as square root of 2/3. I'm also going to tell you that later in your mathematical career, you will learn that it's not proper to leave a square root in your denominator. So root 3 is not, square root of 3 on the bottom is not something we're going to deal with. But I don't want to overcomplicate you guys with details at the moment. I want you to focus on the main idea. So I'm not doing that right now. I'm leaving our answers like this. We have 1 up here, x equals 4. And then down here we got 2 more. Positive I root 2/3 and negative I root 2/3. 3 answers. All right. If you're ready, you can turn the page. Okay, here we go. Number 4 looks like a problem we just did. So let's see if you can do that. It only says factor. It doesn't say solve. So try to get that one done if you haven't done it yet. What did you factor out of the first one? X squared, good. What did you factor out of the second one? I heard a -4. Anybody else liking -4? All right, let's try it.
This one?
You said the test is next Thursday.
All right. So if you were skeptical about the -4, look how nicely it worked out. When we divided by -4, our insides matched up instead of +4, which would have given us the opposite. So you got your inside factor and your outside factor. And it looks like we're done. What do you think? No. Itsuko says no, work harder. What's next? Difference of squares, yeah. All right, so we still have difference of squares, right? Which one's difference of squares? My first factor or my second factor? My second factor is, yep. So I'm going to bring down the first one. And I'm going to fill in my plus minus, and then you guys are going to help me out. All right? So -4 is going to be what times what? I mean, it could be 1 times 4, but then I'm not going to get my middle terms to cancel out. If I want my middle terms to cancel out, I need to use what? Yeah, 2. And then over here, this 2 will become the -2. That's right. Okay. If you have a question, raise your hand. I know some of you are working ahead. You're doing great. Number 5. It doesn't look like difference of squares yet because this 3 I know is not a square. Is there anything I can factor out to start this off? Is there a common factor?
No, 3 maybe.
All right, Julian says 3 maybe. I think it's a decent guess. Can anybody tell me if 48 is divisible by 3? Yeah. Yes. You know why we didn't set it equal to 0? It's because it just said factor on it. So yeah, good question. Thank you. And then this one, yes, we're going to take out the 3. I'm going to write down here. 3, that gives me x squared minus 16. What about that one? Difference of what? More people say it. Difference of what? Squares. Very good. Difference of squares. Okay. So, when you have difference of squares, the key is to make your middle terms cancel out. It needs to be plus and minus the same number. So what number times its opposite will give us -16? 4. Yeah, 4 and then -4. If you have trouble figuring that out, just square root this number. All right, use your calculator, square root 16. It's going to give you 4. And again, it just says factor, so that one we're done with. And then here we have to solve again. I feel like there's really nothing new in 7. Can we just skip it and go to 10 and 11? Raise your hand if you want to hear 7. Okay, I'll do it at the end, Julian, okay? All right. So I'll do 7 at the end if you want it, but I feel like we need a little bit more time with the cubes, right? All right. So I'm looking at x cubed minus 27. What number to the third power gives me 27? 3. Yeah, 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 again is 27. So looking at the pattern here, I'm going to write it as x to the third minus 3 to the third. Everywhere I see a, I put x, and everywhere I see b, I put 3. So instead of a minus b, it's x minus 3. Instead of a squared, it's going to be x squared. Instead of ab, it would be x3, but instead of x3, what could I write? 3x. And then instead of b squared, it's 3 squared, and 3 squared equals what number? 3 to the 2 this time.
Oh, there's
9. All right. Let me help you set up 11, and then I'm going to give you a minute to try it. 64 is what number to the third power? So that's the square root of 64. 64 is a really cool number because it's the perfect square and it's the perfect cube. 64 is 8 squared, and it's also what number to the third power? Gabby.
4 cubed.
Right. Because 4 times 4 is 16, and then 16 times 4 is 64. But I do love that about the number 64. It's also a power of 2. Anybody know what power of 2 it is? Let me see. 2 times 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. I think it's 6. 64. Yeah. So 2 to the 6. So anyway, 64 is a really cool number for lots of reasons. All right. So this is going to be 4x to the 3 plus what number to the third power gives you 1? Yeah, because 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. All right, so I want you to give it a try. It's not the easiest problem. You're going to try replacing the a's with 4x and the b's with 1. And we'll do it as a 2-step problem, so don't feel like you have to do all the simplifying in your first step. All right, so I'll bring down the 4x plus 1. Here I have to square the 4 and the x. 4 squared gives me what? Yeah, so I have 16x squared. 4x times 1 is just 4x. And 1 squared is 1.